Ladies and gentlemen, sports fans alike, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago, one of the couple, two, three best podcasts around. So sit back, grab yourself a cold one and a Polish sausage, park your keister in the French room, and listen to Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose, as long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. This is your hosts, Alex and Sean. On this episode, we have a lot of complaining ready to do because baseball has not been good, basketball has not been good, hockey has not been good, and Bears players are getting arrested. So before we jump into all of this, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Rockford Ice Hogs. If you're not familiar with the Rockford Ice Hogs, they're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You get to see the stars of tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. The playoffs, yes, the playoffs. The Rockford Ice Hogs will be in the Calder Cup playoffs. So definitely hop over to icehogs.com, get yourself a hat, shirt, jersey, sign up for playoff tickets and more. Tell them Swerski Sports sent you. Alex, hopefully you were able to enjoy your Orthodox Easter dinner and not have it ruined by Chicago sports.
Yes. So first of all, Orthodox Easter was very good, as it always is. We had some good food, good family time. The weather was really nice. Can't complain one bit about Orthodox Easter. The rest of the weekend, though, from a sports fan perspective, was pretty bad. Pretty bad. And I tried my very best not to let sports ruin Easter dinner, and it didn't. I had a great Easter dinner, and then once Easter dinner ended and people went home, I was back to being frustrated about sports again. Such is life. This weekend was particularly terrible. This was arguably one of the worst sports weekends this city has seen in a while, and we have seen a lot of crap over the past few years.
Yeah. And I want to start it off with. So I was able to, through my friend, get really good tickets for the Bulls' first home game against the Milwaukee Bucks. Was very excited, decked out in my ball hoodie and a Bulls hat, my Jordan shoes, was ready to go. I was very excited. It was the first Bulls playoff game that I had been to in a long time. I believe since 2009 when the Bulls played the Celtics, and that was a 7-game series, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
Game one, the Bulls won 105-103. Game two, the Celtics won 118-115. Game four, the Bulls won 121-118. Game five, the Celtics won 106-102. Game six, the Bulls won 128-127. And game seven was 109-99. They were all pretty close, except for the one game that I went to. Ended up being 107-86. And my friend Gary was like, I am never taking you to a Bulls playoff game ever again. Fast forward to 2022. He took me to the Bulls game, and they lost by 30 points.
Mwah, mwah. For the record, my brother was there too, but he was in the 300 level with my sister-in-law.
Yeah, I got to sit right by Io DeSumu's family and Eddie Jackson.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, like so there was a whole family there with Io jerseys on. So it was pretty cool. definitely a fun time, except for the score in the game. Everything else was really good. Eh, they just absolutely stunk from the jump.
Look, I didn't make it to either home game. I turned it off at halftime both times. In fact, game 4, I turned off mid-second quarter. The first game, I watched to the half. I'm like, nope, I can't. And then I watched first quarter. I'm like, okay, of game 4. I said, okay, this isn't as bad. And then things went to crap. I'm like, nope, we're out. Really just ugly stuff. And Sean, we last did our show during game 1, a really close, frustrating loss. What we weren't on recording for was game 2, the game the Bulls won, where DeMar DeRozan played like DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine played well and Vooch played well, and they lost Chris Middleton. And you thought, we just beat the Bucks in Milwaukee. They lost an important piece. The complete attitude and mood I had towards the Bulls changed. I thought series tied 1-1 going home. They had a window of opportunity to do something that maybe we didn't think they could do. I'm not saying they would have won the series, but I thought that they could make this a series. If you split on the road and maybe you split at home, it's tied 2-2. You got yourself a series there. And even if you weren't going to win at home, I really thought that you'd see some good games. But they lost by a combined 50 in both of them. They couldn't shoot. The big guys didn't play well. I mean, Vooch in game 3 started off pretty well. He was the one, making the 3-point shots, but DeMar DeRozan couldn't get it done. Zach LaVine couldn't get it done. Kobe White, oh boy, bad. All sorts of bad. I was really praying that maybe this playoff series, the Kobe White that came back from injury that played really well was going to show up. You didn't see it. And then Alex Caruso is hurt again. I mean, this series is 3-1. It's over. It's over.
Yeah, it's over. And, watching it from eye level, it was, I mean, you could see everything all the time, and the Bulls had no ball movement, ball. It was essentially drive in, they would collapse the defense, they would kick it out and try to shoot a 3, and everybody was shooting super bad. I mean,
bricks.
It wasn't even like you watched it come off their hands and you're like, miss.
Yep.
And just off the fingers, you're like, miss.
You could tell right away. Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't like they were even close. You're like, nope, that was not it. And the transition defense was bad, and you watched the passes were sloppy. They couldn't even get a pass, right in the like a shooting position so you could just make the shot. But you watched the Bucks, and it was crisp pass, clean shot. Even when they weren't hitting shots, it looked like it was going in.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bulls could not rebound. The game I was at, do you know who, without looking at the box score, do you know who led the Bulls in rebounding in game 3?
I feel like it's something kind of ridiculous. Like, it wasn't Patrick Williams.
Nope.
Wasn't Vooch.
Mm-mm.
Wasn't DeMar.
Nope.
Wasn't Zach.
Uh-uh.
Was it like Io or Kobe?
Kobe White.
Wow.
And there was just like, there was absolutely zero offensive rebounds. Like, it was nothing.
One and done every time. And even the defensive rebounds were not gimmies. The Bulls couldn't rebound at all. Pat Williams, just like, he may have all the physical tools, but I don't think he has the heart to take it to that next level. I hate to say it early on, and I'm not
I'm not like, oh, you got to trade him because you're going to get pennies on the dollar. But I just don't think he's ever going to have that killer instinct that he needs to take the next level.
No, I know there are other people who feel the same way, and it's hard to see optimism in that when you've watched these playoff games and just even the games down the stretch in the final regular season weeks. And that's another thing too. Look at how this season ended. Look how they played at home. How many times have they gotten just completely blown out at the United Center? Quite a bit.
I mean, people figured it out. They just figured out, let them shoot jump shots.
Yeah. Clog the lanes. You know that you're bigger than them. And, they don't have the shooting. They just don't.
And they don't have a big man to play in the post. I don't know what the answer is in the off season, but maybe is DeAndre Ayton a free agent? I don't know. You need a big man that can play defense and rebound. Even if you still have Vooch, that Vooch doesn't have to play down low center because he's not good. He's not good as a defensive center.
No,
he's a big man that use him how he was meant to be used. But they've got to stay healthy, and they got to add some interior defense, and they need another shooter.
They absolutely need another shooter. No question.
I mean, a big man that can play defense and rebound, I would say, is number one. Shooter number two. After that, I think it's just gravy.
I think you need some size. You just really need some size.
This team had a really nice year, and before the season started, a year ago at this time, 1 year ago at this time, if you would have told me next year the Bulls would have had the best record in the East at the halfway point and made the playoffs, not the play-in game, but the actual playoffs, and took a game on the road against the Milwaukee Bucks in the playoffs, would you be happy?
Yes. Yeah. If you just gave me that context, then yes.
But we've gotten a little taste of success. We were so starved for it that, we see the potential here. I mean, this is 1 year of turnaround.
Right. And it's not that I expected this team to go from horrible to like NBA champs. On the surface, if you take away the context of the season, who got hurt, the slumps, the ups, the downs, 46 wins, 6th seed, that's kind of where I saw this team being going into the season. So I said, yeah, okay, that accomplished what I thought. What makes it a little scary is you got a lot of problems to fix. How exactly are you going to do it?
That's the question is, how do you fix it? And, we've trusted AK and Mark Eversley, and 1 year in, we're mad because we are passionate again, not mad because we're indifferent or frustrated. And
right.
The ending of the season was frustrating, but we are all passionate again. Like, we see this team and we love basketball in this city again.
Yeah, that's big.
So it's a different kind of mad, and I'm going to trust in AK to keep this momentum going. I mean, he's not blind. He's not stupid.
No,
he knows what the problems are. He just, what were you going to do at the trade deadline? I don't think there was anything you could have done to make this team into a championship contender. And, so what was the point of making a big splashy trade? It's just going to hurt you down the road. So I'm not mad at, not going all in, because there was really no point. You getting healthy and seeing what you had, and what Pat Williams would look like coming back, and seeing what these guys coming back would look like. But I don't think there was anything that you could have done in a trade at the trade deadline to make this a championship contender.
No way. You weren't going to get past Milwaukee. You weren't going to get past Philadelphia. You weren't going to get past Miami. I mean, it's the fact of the matter is Milwaukee is light years better than you in every way.
I mean,
in every way.
Even with players that aren't good, they just are elevated on this team. Like, look how good old Crazy Eyes looked.
Yeah.
Bobby Portis. He looked really good against the Bulls. He looked way better against the Bulls than he did at any point when he was on the Bulls.
Amazing what having competent coaching and players around you can do.
So Bobby Portis looked good. I hate saying it, but Grayson Allen looked really good.
That was the worst part.
It was
worst part. God, I hate that guy.
Every time he just has that smug look on his face.
And look, if that's just who he was, then it's like, whatever, he's just a player. But when you have a player who has an injury of intentionally hurting people, you just, and I don't like saying I hate people often. I really don't. But when you go out and hurt people the way you do, whether it was at Duke or in the NBA, if the Bulls signed him, I would root against him. I would absolutely root against them.
Agreed. And you're right. I mean, if you're a really physical player and people get hurt playing against you, like Shaq didn't intentionally hurt anybody, but the man was so big and so strong that he would just throw people around. Like, okay, understandable. What else are you going to do? But Grayson Allen's just a dirty player.
Right. I mean, there are people that play hard, but they play hard to play hard. Grayson Allen will try to hurt you, and he doesn't have any remorse for it.
No, not even a little bit. And that's
None.
The frustrating part is the Bucks are okay with it.
Yeah.
When my family and I were going out last night, and we were driving down Irving Park, and we saw the state police escorting a bunch of blacked out windowed buses. I think it was the Bucks.
It could have been. I mean, you're not going to fly from Milwaukee to Chicago. The Bulls and Bucks probably just travel by bus.
Yeah. I mean, it's an hour and a half. But so, yeah, I saw them escorting them down Irving Park and onto the expressway. So I booed from my car.
If they would have stopped and you would have just gotten onto the bus, walked by all the players, go to the back to see where Grayson Allen is, and just try to drag him off the bus. They're like, and everyone just looking all confused, like, who's this Chicago meatball guy getting on the bus? And you have just like the most pissed off look on your face. You see Grayson Allen, you don't say anything. You point with like that death glare.
You probably put ketchup on your hot dogs.
Yeah. But yeah, we knew this wasn't going to be particularly pretty. It's just a shame that you were given kind of a brief glimpse of something not overly promising, but like a window of opportunity after game 2. And you couldn't do anything at all in front of your home fans. That's what really stinks, because the Bulls are now on a 7-game home losing streak going back to 2015.
That sucks.
Yeah, the Derrick Rose buzzer beater was the last game they won. And if you look at the box scores of all those playoff losses at home since, the only game that was close was the LeBron Phantom timeout buzzer beater game in game 4 of that series in 2015. Every other game, whether it was against the Celtics or it was against Milwaukee or the last game against the Cavs, it got eliminated in all blowouts.
LeBron James.
That phantom timeout, that just broke them. That was the end of an era. And I really just hope that they could get one win at home. We're lucky to get a win in this series, period, I think. But
I would agree. And you know, I don't want to sound like I'm just shitting all over them. It's they had a flawed team. They had some of their weaknesses exposed. They lack like Zach LaVine is a phenomenal basketball player. Phenomenal. DeMar DeRozan, phenomenal basketball player. But they're not MVP like upper echelon players like that can take over a game, like a Kevin Durant or
Giannis. He's unreal.
Or 5 years ago LeBron.
Right.
They're not, and that's not even a knock. There's like 6 of those players, 7 of those players. Like there's not that many of them. And it's playing against a player that's like exceptionally good in college. Is like I played against a lot of the DePaul basketball players when I went to school, when the team actually was fairly decent, and they kicked the crap out of me, and only one of them actually went to the NBA. That was Quentin Richardson, and so none of the other even went to the NBA, and they were just so good. And then you look at the NBA and you're like, all of these NBA players are far and away the best players in the world. And then there's still that just upper echelon of the Kevin Durant's and the Giannis's and, players like that, the Steph Curry's. And there's like you can look it up on YouTube. But Brian Scalabrine had this thing where he would just challenge players that thought they were really good at basketball that weren't pros, and he would just beat them, because even though Brian Scalabrine was a scrub in the NBA, he is one of the most elite basketball players in the entire world.
It's pretty amazing.
Like guys that thought they were really good, or they played professional overseas, or they played in college, and he just dominated. Because even though he was end of the bench scrub in the NBA, the difference between of being a scrub player in the NBA and anybody else in the world is light years difference.
Oh yeah, I mean, Cameron Payne would kick like 99.9% of the asses of people who played basketball. The other like 0.1% is everybody else in the NBA.
Yeah.
And it's so much easier said than done for us to be, critical of what the Bulls do, because there's no way in hell we can do it. And again, we knew this was going to happen. It's less of me being mad. I'm not as mad. It's just, it's sad. It's sad that both home games had to be as ugly as they were, that they weren't even competitive.
But like I said, it's just, we don't have the horses.
No, we don't
to win.
We don't.
I'm not shitting on this team. Like it has been a really good season. We have we've been taken out of the dark ages of the Garpax era. And, there's a lot of things to be happy about, but there's a lot of work that still needs to be done on this team to compete for an NBA championship.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of work to be done, and hopefully that this playoff series can at least really show. I mean, again, AK is a smart guy, but it'll really expose the warts on this team and the shortcomings, and it'll make it easier to identify what to fix. Like I said, I'm not as well versed to know how to fix it, who to get, who to draft, who to potentially trade for, whatever, because there's a lot of work to be done. And it's not like you're going to go and draft first overall and draft the next superstar. You're just not going to get a superstar like that. It's going to be an interesting offseason to see what AK does. Is Zach LaVine going to be here next year? I don't know. I'm not sure Kobe White's going to be here. I don't know if Vucevic is going to be here. There's a lot of questions to be asked. I mean, if you name those three, Vooch, White, LaVine, I'd say at least one is a lock not to be in here next year. At least one of them. Now, if all three are back, White, LaVine, Vooch, I'd be stunned. I'm not saying they're all going to be gone, but if all three are back, I would be pretty surprised at this point.
Agreed. And I think you're going to see not wholesale changes on this team, but you're going to see some fairly significant changes because this, things have to change. You can't. They're not like, oh, a player away from this. They've got to do a little shuffling and adding a player.
Yep.
If they had a Joel Embiid, this would be a completely different team. And I know that players like him don't grow on trees, but
no, they don't. They don't.
But sometimes you have to take your lumps growing a player like that. Giannis wasn't always Giannis. Maybe you can will that out of Pat Williams at some point, not to that elite level, but to a more acceptable level. But I don't know what else you do. You don't have a lot of draft capital. You're going to have to get a little luck, somebody falling to you. You're going to have to shuffle some money around to be able to try to sign somebody. But I trust AK and Eversley to get this done.
Yeah, I am putting my trust in them as well. They've gotten us this far. Hopefully we take that next step.
Hey, Russell Westbrook is going to be a free agent. Whew. He is not going to get the money that he got this year.
Garpax should totally sign him, right?
Russell Westbrook this year is making over $41 million. James Harden is making almost $43 million.
Ooh, that's a doozy.
Makes Zach LaVine's 19.5 look cheap.
Yeah, I'll say. Wow.
Yeah. So disappointing the way the Bulls series went, but they got a win, which is, I think, more than we thought they would when the series started.
Not getting swept. It's nice, isn't it? That's where we're at.
Want to talk a little baseball here?
Yeah, boy, do we have baseball thoughts.
Should we start South Side?
Sure.
What the fuck is Tony La Russa doing with Leury Garcia?
Does somebody have like nude photos of somebody? Like, what's going on here?
I don't understand. On the season, do you know what Leury Garcia is batting?
Isn't like 091 or something.
098.
Close enough.
With a 140 on base percentage
Oh, God.
And a 122 slugging. His OPS is 261. To put it into perspective, is if you subtract Lurie Garcia's OPS from Seiya Suzuki's OPS, Seiya Suzuki still has an exceptionally good OPS.
Yay.
And
he's batting cleanup.
He's batting like third and like, why? And it's not even like he's fielding well. He's got errors galore. I'm like, what in the world do you have to do? Like, honestly, it's if you're Rick Hahn, do you look to just DFA him and be like, that's, if the manager is not going to listen to reason and stop putting Lurie Garcia in there, we're going to just part ways with him.
Well, here's the thing. Who else do you have right now to play second? Because isn't Josh Harrison hurt now too?
I don't know. They got so many injuries.
It's ridiculous how many injuries they have. This is part of the problem, a big part of the problem, really. I mean, does Danny Mendick play second?
Let's see. Hold on. Yermin Mercedes hurt. Eloy hurt.
Right.
Joe Kelly hurt. Ryan Burr, Yohan Moncada, Lance Lynn, Garrett Crochet. I don't know if Josh Harrison is hurt.
Because he made that catch in Cleveland where he tumbled over.
Oh, yeah. He's day to day.
Yeah. So he's not on the IL, but he's day to day.
Yeah. Liam Hendricks now day to day.
Yeah.
Josh Harrison day to day. Eloy is listed as 10-day, but he's going to be out like months. Luis Robert is day to day.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Kelly's on the 10-day. Lance Lynn resumed playing catch off flat ground.
It feels like every day somebody's getting hurt. It's unreal.
It really is. But it's frustrating when you have what was it, the Friday night you were down by 1 and you had bases loaded with 1 out and you don't put Yasmani Grandal and a pinch hit. Why?
Shrug.
I don't understand the coaching moves that are happening. Like literally, you had the bases loaded, the bottom of the 9th, and you batted Reese McGuire and Jake Berger and left Yasmani Grandal on the bench. And that game you had Lurie Garcia batting second.
Yeah, because didn't Lurie bat third he batted third in the finale of the Guardians. I can't get used to that. The Guardians series. So you had back-to-back days of him batting like third and second.
You know what's wild is Lurie Garcia on Saturday went 1 for 4 and raised his batting average 18 points.
Mm-hmm.
And then he followed it up by dropping it 10 points on Sunday, going 0 for 4.
Yeah, yikes. I mean, the White Sox, they're very banged up, but the big thing that you can look at two sides of the coin. One, if you want to look at the bright side, there are two things. One, You get your talent back, you're going to be winning ball games again. You're not going to be playing like this forever. Bad stretches happen, and you are not healthy right now. The other bit of good news, you play in the AL Central. If you're not thankful for that, be thankful for that. You just went on a 7-game losing streak, and you're only a game and a half back.
Yep.
You're going to win the division.
Yeah.
Unless this somehow this catastrophic meltdown continues all season, which I don't think it will, you're going to win the division. Now, the other side of the coin. The fundamentals are just flat bad.
This
healthy
team
or not,
cannot field. Can't field.
And they can't run the bases.
Nope. Can't run the bases. Can't field. I've been singing it from the mountaintops for a while. Eloy Jimenez is a designated hitter.
Period.
Stop putting him in the outfield. It's just not going to work.
And now you're not, I mean, this didn't have anything to do with the outfield. It was running to first, but again, you ran to first, took a big leap, and disaster struck. Now, if it truly is 6 to 8 weeks, it's getting reevaluated today. So by the time you're listening to this podcast, we'll have a clearer shot. So if it isn't longer than we hope, and it is 6 to 8 weeks, that's a much better scenario than what you initially thought. If it ends up being longer and it needs surgery, well, that's a different story. But if we're going to go best case scenario, 6 to 8 weeks isn't bad compared to what it could have been. But man, lengthy injury this year, really lengthy injury last year, DL stints throughout his first few years, even if they weren't lengthy. It's just that the injuries just keep piling up with him. He's so talented, seems very likable, and he wants to play as hard as he can day in, day out. But the injury bug just does not want to step away from him. It just keeps following him. And, unfortunately, part of it is when you play a bit more erratic. And what the White Sox just need to really help do is to help coach him up to not do some of that stuff. And on one hand, it's really hard to be mad at a guy for wanting to just try his very best. It really is. And injuries are more often than not freak things. But, you don't want to be running through the base like that. You don't want to try to climb fences or try to field the ball the way he sometimes does. If you DH him and you help with his base running, then you can really cut down on the injuries going forward. You really could.
That's really what he needs is to focus on being a good hitter. That's where he's going to be the most helpful.
And it worries me that it's going to cost him just a lot of potential growing time. I mean, it's hard to keep growing to your own in the league when you're always injured.
Yep. Especially at this early age of it or early part of his career this is when, you're really learning the major league pitchers and how to hit them and, kicking your lumps and gaining that experience. And, when you lose a year to this injury and lose several months to that injury, it takes its toll. And not saying he's not going to, reach his full potential, but serious injuries definitely make it harder.
Right. It does. And he's right now one of their most important guys on the offense. And you hate to lose him for a lengthy amount of time because you got other guys getting hurt too on the offensive side of the ball. We have a lot of pitchers hurt, but the Sox also have a lot of position players hurt. I mean, Luis Robert, the most talented guy on your team, he's dealt with injuries too. And you hope it's not the same thing with him.
Sorry, on a complete tangent here, but Pierre Maguire was asked in 2013 if he thinks Alexander Ovechkin is capable of ever scoring 50 goals in a season again? And he said, no, I do not. Since that quote, Ovechkin has scored 440 more goals and has had 5 more 50-plus goal seasons.
Where did you see this?
Twitter.
We just had to interrupt the White Sox conversation to share some Pierre Maguire.
Anytime I have a chance to smash Pierre Maguire in his dumb face, I'm taking it.
Okay, that's fair.
Well, just like anytime I have a chance to smash Angel Hernandez, I will take it.
Oh, like Kyle Schwarber last night. Oh my God, was that beautiful?
Kyle Schwarber he embodied every major league player and fan in that moment.
Even Brewers fans were cheering him, like on Twitter.
Yeah, everybody in that it likes baseball went, I'm on Team Kyle because Angel Hernandez sucks.
Yeah, it was great entertainment value, and people were really pumped up when they saw Kyle Schwarber react the way he did. It was pretty funny.
He got the hook quick. I don't know what he said, because if you watch the video, he gets the you're out of here pretty quick in that rant.
Oh yeah. He was very articulate. He said his piece and then he walked away.
It was a very calm affair. Kyle Schwarber wasn't pissed, and I don't blame him. Like that, I feel bad. That's not. I don't think that's the first run-in that he's had with Angel Hernandez.
Yeah, well, I know he had. You remember when he was a Cub in 2019 and the check swing was called out, but I don't think that was Angel Hernandez. I don't think.
But you know, that video was hilarious. I am not even mad at him. That was, people be like, oh, I don't think that was appropriate. No, that was totally appropriate. That's how frustrating Angel Hernandez is.
Yeah.
Like players were be like, yeah, he was making terrible calls on both sides. Like it's not even like they were all going against the Phillies or all against Kyle Schwarber. No, they were just bad calls all night long, and people were just pissed. I mean, both teams were just like, yeah, I get it.
Pretty much. That sums it up.
Golf Digest even posted about it. Kyle Schwarber, like all of us, finally haven't had enough of Angel Hernandez's shit.
Who hasn't? Remember when Mongo McMichael booed him?
Yeah. I'm reading Mike Petrello's comment about it. I would watch Kyle Schwarber losing his damn mind like that 1 billion times in a row. Matt Gelb, Kyle Schwarber has gone nuclear on Angel Hernandez. Kyle Schwarber just showed more emotion than anyone on this team has shown in a long time. John Heyman, source, Angel Hernandez misses the E on eye charts.
Wow.
Randy Wilkins, why is Angel Hernandez still a thing? Everybody is either mad at him or laughing at him. He's awful at his job.
He's been doing it for how long? Decades now?
A long time. Kyle Schwarber out there speaking for all batters. We are all Kyle Schwarber. Finally, someone freaked out at Angel Hernandez. Kyle Schwarber is all of us.
Everyone applauded him that night.
How does Angel Hernandez have a job? Just a quick update. Angel Hernandez still sucks. Noah Syndergaard tweeted out, I'm here for Angel Hernandez strike zone forever. Oh man. Props to Andrew McCutcheon on ESPN post-game interview for admitting that it was a terrible call against Kyle Schwarber. We just got to be better, man.
Yeah, I mean, everyone was in agreement. There was no disagreement or anything. They all got it.
Well, how must it feel that the whole world agrees on? They don't agree on whether or not aliens exist or if the sky is blue, but everybody universally agrees that you suck at your job. That can't be a good feeling.
No, not at all. Not at all. Finally, we've accomplished world peace.
Angel Hernandez gets a Nobel Peace Prize for being so bad at his job that he unites everybody in hating his guts.
Hey, he deserves that one.
Except Noah Syndergaard. But, you know, the bad baseball is not reserved for the south side of town. On the north side of town as well, and I'm making the weatherman motions, pushing the bad baseball up north. The Cubs are equally not good.
Winning a game 21-0 does not excuse the fact that they lost 3 out of 4 at home to the Pittsburgh Pirates.
The Pittsburgh Pirates, who most people assumed would be the worst team in the National League.
That bullpen blew smoke by those Cub hitters. And how many times on Sunday did they have the chance to take the lead or at least tie the game? And they couldn't do it. You saw some awful at-bats from Nick Madrigal and Wilson Contreras trying to hit the ball to the moon when all you needed was solid contact. This was supposed to be the solid contact team, and yet here's this presser situation. Let's swing for the fences again like it's the old days. And I mean, the other frustrating thing too was just the fact that they score early. They look like a competent offense early. And then after the third inning, aside from Saturday's game, they'll just switch off. I mean, it's happened in multiple games. It happened in almost every game this series. Yesterday, early 2-0 lead. Game 1, early 3-0 lead. And then the offense just shut down. It just flat shut down and couldn't do anything the rest of the way. Here is sorry, I have to rant about this. Here's a 25-year-old prospect in Alfonso Rivas who does nothing but hit. And David Ross barely plays him. He's got to put in Jason Hayward and Jonathan VR over a promising prospect. Nico Horner, 4 hits. Now let's put him on the bench. VR can't field. Now let's keep him at shortstop. What are you doing?
It's true. VR has had minimal games this year, and he's already got 4 errors.
If you want to play VR, second base or DH, because he's been hitting okay. But he can't field at third. He can't field at short. Put him at second where the throw is short, or DH him. I don't mind having his bat in the lineup, but don't put him at short over Nico Horner. What are you doing? Yeah. It's maddening.
Hayward has not been hitting terribly, but I don't know. You need to get the guys that are hitting in the lineup. Just play the hot hand. Nick Madrigal's been batting for shit.
Yeah, that's been very, very disappointing. And I'm trying to give him grace. He was hurt for a long time. He's trying to work his way back. But it's time to start picking it up a little bit. Because the thing with White Sox fans know this. if Nick Madrigal isn't hitting you singles, you're not getting much.
No, and when he's striking out 2 out of 3 plate appearances, that's really bad.
That's alarming.
Yeah. Again, Patrick Wisdom. We can live with Patrick Wisdom hitting 250 because the guy has just absolute amazing power. We've seen it. Because with that 250 batting average, he's got an 806 OPS.
Mm-hmm.
We can live with that.
Mm-hmm.
Rivas should be playing more. Hermosillo struggling mightily.
Yeah, I think I feel bad for the guy. He works hard, but he's just not hitting major league pitching. It's just not, the results aren't there.
Hayward is not batting terribly, but he's not batting well either.
Okay, yeah, I mean, Hayward will collect some singles and garbage time RBIs, but when it comes to big at bats, you're still not getting much.
I mean, the slugging, he's slugging 367. That's not good.
Yeah,
enough.
No.
VR, the bat is okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the batting average is good. He's not hitting for power at all.
No,
his slugging is only 40 points higher than his batting average. His OPS is not anything exceptionally good. We're starting to see Frank Schwindel warm up a little bit. I still think he's a good hitter, at least a decent hitter. We need to see more consistency out of Wilson Contreras.
Yeah, because there are games he's hitting the ball, and there are games where it's either double play or strikeout.
Ortega has been not so hot, but he's also really the only leadoff hitter we have. Seiya Suzuki's been great.
Suzuki's awesome. Him and Ian Happ have been fun to watch this year.
Absolutely.
Seiya Suzuki, he goes through like an 0 for 10, and then he picks up with 3 hits. He adjusted really quickly. He's like, all right, you know what? They're approaching me a little different. I'm going to adjust my approach a little bit. And he starts hitting again. It's impressive stuff. He has been more than what we could have asked for. He's been a joy to watch. Ian Happ has been really good too. Like your 2 offensive MVPs, one is Suzuki, and behind him is Ian Happ.
And when you throw Brennan Davis into that outfield, you're going to have a hell of an outfield.
Mm-hmm. Though I think we might be waiting a bit on Brennan Davis this year. I think we'll see him this year, but he's off to a bit of a slow start in AAA, and I'm not worried yet. But and you know what? I 100% supported him not starting the big leagues. I don't think he was ready to start in the majors this April. He just wasn't. That's okay.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all. But there is zero excuse to be sending down Alfonso Rivas again. None.
Agreed. 100% agreed.
It's ridiculous that he was even sent down.
Like, I don't know who is making that call. If that's coming from the executive branch, or if that is David Ross. I don't know, because
I don't either.
To be fair here, it was very clear from when Theo Epstein was brought here, they're from the school that they want a manager that is going to essentially be almost a puppet for the front office. And that's why they wanted, Joe Madden was not doing that.
Right.
And David Ross is doing that. So I don't know if that's from the upstairs of Theo or Jed Hoyer going, you know what? This is who we're playing. And David Ross goes, okay. Or if this is a David Ross decision. And I can't imagine that David Ross would get away with that if the front office was not happy about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've wondered that too. And that's why sometimes I hold back on questioning if it's David Ross, if it, because I don't know if it is him making that decisions. But regardless, I think it's unacceptable that he's not in. The fact that he was not in yesterday's game, I think was unacceptable. It was 100% unacceptable. What more do you need to see from Jason Hayward? And I know the batting stats are okay so far. And you know me that I am not as big of a Hayward hater as many other people. But when you have a prospect with the upside that he has, very underrated, and you're not playing him every day, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And I don't want to just single Hayward out. I don't want to do that. I mean, I think I've seen enough of Hermosillo. Again, all due respect, it's just he's not catching up to major league pitching.
Yes.
And he doesn't have a large sample size, but Clint Frazier, I'm going to give him a little more opportunity, but so far you haven't seen many results there either. There comes a point where the reclamation projects have to step aside to the future.
Like, I really was excited about Michael Hermosillo. I thought he had a lot of tools that could make him if he achieved his potential, could be I didn't see him as a superstar player, but a decent, solid player. And he's just not there. And
no, I was rooting hard for him too.
I was rooting hard for him, and it's not going to work. Jason Hayward, while he is playing okay, just what's the point? What's the point of him playing over young players?
Right. I mean, that's my whole thing is you're going to keep him on the roster. You want to put him in for defense. You want to play him every now and then against certain matchups. Okay, fine. But when you're in there every day and guys like Alfonso Rivas isn't, there is just no excuse, in my opinion, for that. There just isn't.
I don't know if you saw there was a Bleacher Nation article about Alfonso Rivas yesterday. The title was Alfonso Rivas, who is not in the lineup today, does nothing but hit as a professional.
Yep, I saw that. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, they said the part that we were all thinking out loud. So that it is frustrating. I think we're both in agreement that this team should just be evaluating young players, getting them experience. Is what point is there? I mean, I get Wilson Contreras because who else are you going to play?
Yan Gomes. But you're not going to play Yan Gomes over Wilson Contreras in terms of playing time. You're going to play Yan Gomes, but just not as much as Wilson Contreras.
Yes, exactly. So you're not, I mean, that's what I meant is there's nobody that's like a young player that you're like, oh man, needs to get at bats. We're going to sit Wilson Contreras. That's just nobody there.
Right.
But other positions, there are guys to evaluate. And that's why I'm not mad about Patrick Wisdom working through things, because who else are you going to put there?
Jonathan VR.
Yeah. Like I 100 times out of 100, I would rather have Patrick Wisdom up there getting the at-bats and seeing if he's worth bringing back next year than Jonathan VR. So that's just where we're at. Like I want to see if Frank Schwindel is worth bringing back next year. I want to see what Alfonso Rivas does with, a full season, being able to play most every day. I got to see enough of Michael Hermosillo, I think, but I want to see what younger players can do. Like I'm fairly happy with what we're seeing from Nico Horner.
Me too.
So why, like, that's what I want to see. I want to see what guys are going to look like, because this is kind of a lost year. we're second to last in the division. We're not catching up and winning this division.
You're not beating the Brewers in the division. You're not going to beat the Cardinals either.
So why in the world aren't we just evaluating future talent to see what we have? Because you know what? It's when you start to have that next crop of players ready to come from the minors to the majors, you don't want to have question marks of, okay, the guy that we've been playing in the major leagues worth keeping. Like, figure that out now. Like, you know what? If Patrick Wisdom is not the guy, okay, I'm not like unreasonably attached to Patrick Wisdom. Like, he's not it. Okay, cool. We learned that. But I just want to see a big enough sample size to make a really good decision on that. That's all I want, is just a good enough sample size on these players to feel good about whatever decision, whether that be to re-sign them and give them more opportunity next year, or to part ways with them and realize that they need a third baseman, and they'll have to go out and get a free agent one because they don't have a third baseman in the pipeline that's ready to go, or whatever the case may be. Just that's what this year is for, figuring that out, is developing the young players in the minors and evaluating talent at the majors.
Right. Exactly. And I mean, that's not to say you can't play any veterans at any time, but the fact that Alfonso Rivas is only played like a handful of games when he should be playing a lot more, that's the issue I have. That's why I'm upset about that. I mean, they've done a nice job with the pitching, at least. They're giving young guys a chance to pitch. Now, part of that's because there's a lot of injuries. I mean, you don't have Wade Miley right now. You don't have Alec Mills. You don't have Edward Alzolay. So that has opened the door there. And you're seeing some good things from the young pitching on the big league level, like Keegan Thompson. Whew, that guy has looked great. Yeah, he has looked great. Justin Steele's been very mixed. The stuff is there, but the command is not. Right. And I think that there is a likely scenario where we see Justin Steele as a 1 to 2 inning reliever in the long run.
That's a possibility. Do you think that they stretch out Keegan Thompson and let him start?
I think they got to try. But at the same time, right now, you also need arms in the bullpen.
Right. Like, yeah, you're right. Justin Steele. And I mean, Justin Steele is young. What is he? 25, 26?
Around there. Yeah. Mid-20s.
And you've seen some good things. You've seen some good outings. You've seen some not so great outings. Like, was it the worst outing against Pittsburgh? No, but it wasn't a good outing either. I just, you're seeing a mixed bag coming through. No consistency. I mean, even from top to bottom. Kyle Hendricks, no consistency. And we still haven't seen Miley yet. And Smiley's been okay, but then that last start against Pittsburgh wasn't that good.
No, I mean, the weather was kind of crappy. I'm not going to get too much on him, but we'll see how his next few starts go. That could be telling.
I mean, you're right. I mean, I guess Jose Quintana didn't pitch that great of a game either, but the bullpen for the Pirates came in and just really shut down the Cubs. 3 out of 4 games, they just mowed them down. Yeah. I mean, the Cubs really got to the starters. Not that they knocked in a lot of runs, but they chased most of those starters away fairly early. Mm-hmm. They did. Quintana didn't make it 5. Like, I don't know if any of them made it to 5 innings. Did any of their starters make it to? Did Jose Quintana to be 5? No. Did any of them become the pitcher of record?
No, I don't think so.
Let's
I
see.
think Pat Hughes read that going to that series, the bullpen had all the wins, and wins don't really mean anything now, but it was an interesting fact.
Yeah, here we go. Friday or Thursday, starting pitcher went 3 innings for the Pirates. Friday, the starting pitcher went 4 2/3. Saturday, the starter went, no, that was Kyle Hendricks, sorry. 2. And then yesterday, the starter went 3. Oh, that's sorry, that's Justin Steele. Keeps going defaulting there. 3, yeah. Brubaker only went 3 innings. So no, none of their starters were.
And you lost 3 of 4 of those games.
Yeah, and none of their starting pitchers was the pitcher of record. And you lost 3 out of 4 of those.
That is so frustrating. You lost 2 or 3 of the Rays. Okay, the Rays are really good. And the first game that you lost was what, 6-5, 5-4. It was a really competitive game. You just came up short, nothing bad. The next day, Stroman got rocked again. Wasn't fun, but you're like, all right, the Rays are good. You needed to take care of business against the Pirates because now you go to Atlanta and then you go to Milwaukee. Then you play the White Sox at home. And I feel confident the White Sox are going to turn things around by then. I do. And then you play the Dodgers. So have fun with that stretch.
What's funny is the Cubs outscored the Pirates in this series 29-12 and lost 3 out of 4.
It's a record. That's a record.
It's just unreal. It's kind of embarrassing, and the thing is after as much fun as that was to watch that absolute rout.
It was great.
It was so much fun. And the crazy part about it is they scored 21 runs and only 1 home run was hit for the Cubs.
Mm-hmm. And who hit that home run?
Rivas.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, folks. You're going to hear me be very annoying about Rivas going forward. He's my guy.
But yeah, but at the end of that game, I suddenly like switched the mindset and I was like, you know what? As much fun as this was to watch, I bet they lose tomorrow.
Oh yeah. Everyone had that feeling.
And sure as shit, there they go.
Yep. I mean, 3 of those 4 games were carbon copies, literal carbon copies.
Yep.
And the one that wasn't a carbon copy was the extreme opposite, like to the extreme.
Yeah. And it was, the Pirates jump out to a couple run lead. The Cubs inch back, fall just short, and lose.
Yep.
So it just really frustrating to watch this happen. And, the Braves are up next. And while they they actually have a worse record than the Cubs, they're a much better team.
Oh yeah. And you're on the road.
And I hope Marcus Stroman gives us a better outing.
Yeah, I'm not panicking about him yet, but it'd be really nice to see them get back on track.
And the White Sox playing the Royals, and one of those teams has to win a game because they're both on a sucky losing streak. So one of them has to win. But it's funny, the 2 starting pitchers for tomorrow for the White Sox and Royals, one has a 5.4 ERA. The other one has a 15 ERA. Watch, it'll be a 2-1 game.
Yeah, right. No, that's the perfect opportunity for the White Sox to get back on track. If they can't do it against them, then yeah,
the Royals are not good. And Lynch, hasn't pitched that well this year. But they've got Dallas Keuchel on the mound. So, but I don't know how many. I mean, the last outing, Tony La Russa was like, as much as he loves Lurie Garcia, he does not like Dallas Keuchel, because he was like, no, I'm not rescuing that guy. Just let him go out there and wallow in his own shit, and just left that guy out there to rot.
I also do think that part of the reason was that it was game one of a doubleheader, and you needed to save some bullets. So I think that was a scenario where La Russa's like, you know what, he just has to eat this one.
You know, I don't feel bad for Major League Baseball players often, but in that case, I felt really bad for Dallas Keuchel. He just had nothing. Like, there was nothing. And it reminded me of some of those last few Cubs starts, John Lester.
Yeah. I
Just,
kind of draw a lot of parallels there between those two.
I mean, clearly, I agree with you, even though the highs of John Lester were much higher than the highs of Dallas Keuchel. You know, overall, Dallas Keuchel has been a plus as far as the signing goes.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
Nah, I don't know. I'm going to disagree with you there.
Really?
He was bad in the 2020 playoffs. He was awful last year, and he's been awful this year. Go look at his stats.
All right, I will. But yeah, but the team as a whole has been good, and you know, you don't get there with shitty starting pitching, and so I don't know how much I'm going to give him shit, because he came here when they started turning this around.
I mean, his first stint in the regular season 2020, he was great. He was really, really good. And then everything just kind of fell apart after that.
He's just coming towards the twilight of that career.
Yeah, he's old. He's past his prime.
Is he? I don't even know if he's that old. I think he's just got a lot of miles on those arms.
He's like 34-ish, I think.
Yeah, let's see. Keuchel age. He's just turned 34. So age-wise, like, he's not terribly old. I mean, you know, he should have a few more years left in the tank. I think there's just a lot of miles on that arm.
Yeah, and you know, in some pitchers, they just fall off after 31, 32.
Yeah. You know, there's some guys out that can last a while. He's just not one of them. He needs to juice it up a little bit.
Get the juice.
Get the juice. John Lackey's out there. I used to juice. Tobacco juice.
I got the chaw.
He's like, I just injected it into my buttocks. I just needed the chaw.
You injected chaw in your buttocks? Oh.
That's what he did. He chewed the chaw, and then he spit it in a spittoon, and then he'd draw it up and inject it. That's what gave him them superpowers. He's like, I didn't make it. I didn't pitch in a game 7 without my chaw juice.
I'm chaw lad.
It's undetectable on them Major League Baseball piss tests.
I tried.
I looked at what they test for, and they don't even test for chaw.
Well, you better not say that, because they're going to start testing for chaw. It's like you see this long list of like these PEDs and then just chaw.
It's just at the end, and you just see ew.
And it's not even typed out. It's like written in like pen, just scribbled in there.
It's just dried barf where somebody just threw up thinking about somebody injecting themselves with chaw spit.
Ew.
The person who's filling out the form just starts Buffalo Bill fan puking all over the form.
Oh. Buffalo Bill puking. That's so gross, but so funny.
The Buffalo Bill fan puking is one of my favorite videos. It's so gross, but it totally sums up so many situations. You're like, oh, how did that Cubs Pirates series go?
More like, how is Chicago sports doing right now? Buffalo Bills fan, take it away.
I had a sobering, I mean, we're not talking about the Blackhawks right now, but I had a sobering thought. They're gonna be worse next year than they were this year.
You think?
They definitely are. There's no way they're going to be better next year than they are right now.
Boy,
like, what are they going to do to be better next year?
I mean, you got to make some moves, right? Well, what they do, I don't know.
I don't know what they do.
Sign Marc-Andre Fleury again.
How funny would that be? And then they just trade him again.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Marc-Andre Fleury.
One of the few entertaining things of the Blackhawks season.
I saw that they shut down Kirby Doc for the rest of the season.
Yeah, not surprising.
He's been a disappointment.
Yeah, it's not been ideal.
Like, honestly, if you're trying to be like a glass half full guy or find the silver lining guy, what is the silver lining of this season?
DeBrinket's still good?
I don't know.
That's all I got.
I don't know.
That's literally all I got. I mean, Kane is Kane, so whatever. But I got nothing. Really. Because Dominic Kubalik has disappeared. Jonathan Toews is kind of washed.
And he's completely self-unaware, doesn't realize how bad this team is or why they're trading people.
Yeah, he's kind of off his rocker.
It's like, if we just get Dustin Byfuglien back, we're right back in this. Duncan Keith and Dustin Byfuglien, Seabrook. Would you bring the gang back together? We'll go for one more run.
Yeah. I think he's off his noodle.
Jonathan Toews' brain is like at the end of the Rocky series.
Yeah, really.
Hey, Jonathan, you got nothing left in you. Ain't nothing over.
That was a good imitation. Good job. Yeah, no, but I do have one positive. The resale market tickets have at times dropped under $10.
That's true.
So you still have to pay freaking $30 to park your car.
Yeah, see, that's the beauty. I still live in the city, so I just take the L.
Well, la-di-da for you.
So it's like dirt cheap because it costs me $250 to ride the L there, and then $250 home, and then $10 for a ticket, and there we go. Wham bam, thank you, ma'am. And but like after going to the Kraken game, like, is it even worth the $20?
The only reason I went was to see Marian Hossa. If Marian Hossa wasn't part of that night, I wouldn't have paid that money.
It's just frustrating. I'm
kind of just numb at this point when it comes to them right now. I don't really feel much.
I just, when I go through and watch, I like, all right, right now they're winning against the Flyers, but the Flyers stink too. The Flyers might even be worse than the Blackhawks, if that's possible. Like, they're two terrible teams. But I just, I don't know what the what the point is of this season. This season is just absolute lost season.
It was lost the second it started. I mean, honestly, let's recap this season. Get off to a historically bad start where they don't have a lead in how many periods I lost track. And you have dug yourself too deep of a hole to even climb out of. Then the ugly details of 2010 come out and people lose their jobs and their reputations are forever changed. Then Derek King comes in and you start to play a little better. And then it all falls apart. And then it gets worse. And then guys get injured. And then guys get traded. And you keep losing. And then you realize that Pat Foley is going to be leaving. And then you watch, Pat Foley's last game. And then it's continuing to lose.
Then it's burned the first NHL contract season of Lucas Reichel for no reason.
Yeah, let's call him up for 2 games and then send him down back to Rockford.
Like, why? What was the point of that? You burned a year of eligibility there for nothing.
Either call him up and play him, or just keep him in Rockford and call him up next year. I don't understand. What was the point of the calling up for like 3 games and then sending down to Rockford again?
I have no idea.
I did not understand that. Boy, that's a real shit show. I mean, that's a team that is not going to be good for a very long time.
Yeah, I can't figure this team out. And when I look at the 3 finalists that they had for their general manager spot, was the guy that was there, a guy that is from another sport, and a guy that has been successful in an assistant position at a very successful franchise. And they went, ooh, let's make it between the guy that we already have here and the guy that's from another sport. And that's just summed up the Blackhawks there.
Yeah, I'm going to give Kyle Davidson a full chance. He seems to like to do things. Yeah,
I'm going to give him a chance. Absolutely.
They lack so much creativity.
I'm just not going to set my expectations high.
And with all due respect to Derek King, he was dealt a bad hand and a bad roster. And there's only so much he can do. But damn it, bring an actual experienced NHL coach in here.
Yeah.
We've already seen the AHL crap fail.
Yeah. Put Derek King, send him back to Rockford. I'm not like, oh, screw that guy. It's
no, not at all.
Like he came in and did everything that they asked of him. And, they were competitive at times when, if you take out that terrible start, they're a meh team rather than a bleh team. And so he clearly made them better than they were, but this is a bad roster. But you know what? If you're going to go all out and try to actually be a good team again, you need a really good coach. And
well, is this a good time to remind you they lost 12 of 14?
I'm not saying that they're good. I'm just saying is that if you take out that historically bad start, their record after that is meh. They're not a good team, but if you look at the whole body of work since they made the coaching change, the record is it's not good, but it could be way worse. It was way worse. It was way worse under Colleton. They were a much worse team. They're a much better coach team now than when Jeremy Colleton was there. They're just not.
I agree. Colleton was worse. I'm not willing to say that the team after, for the first month or so, it was night and day. No question. I agree with you there. But if you look at the past few months, it's been almost as awful as the beginning of the year.
They're not a good team. They're, the coaching needs to be better. The players just need to be better, period. You can't put it all on the coaches.
No, you can't. You can't.
But, if do they keep King for next year? I don't care if they keep him next year or even the year after. But by the time that you churn this roster and because, here, listen, you not only need to get your financials in order and get rid of bad contracts and expiring deals, you also need to get talent into the minor leagues. So you have guys that you can bring up, and they've been like the Blackhawks have been pretty bad about that. They don't develop talent. There's a lot of guys that you're like, watch them in Rockford and you're like, okay, this is going to be the next guy. And they just never take that next step. And that's frustrating.
No, development the past 5-6 years has just been non-existent.
And you need to be better at that. And so by the time they get whoever in place in the minors to help this development of players and get them ready to transition to the AHL, then to the NHL, and draft talented players to get them to that point and get their financials in order at the big league level. Like, all right, it's going to be several years. So, are you going to get a really good coach and bring them in and to coach this garbage? Is it worth that? They're going to stick around, wait all these years before you get everything, up to snuff? I don't know. I don't know what you do.
Yeah, like the Bulls. Obviously the Bulls are in a window of being functional where the Blackhawks have a long rebuild to go. But like the Bulls, it's going to be a very interesting offseason.
Yeah. You know what? If they bring Derek King back, I wouldn't be shocked because they know they're going to be garbage next year. Might as well have a garbage coach. But
bring back the garbage.
But, if they fire him, or sorry, reassign him back to Rockford, because I don't think they'll fire him. He didn't do anything to get fired. They asked him to take a step up, and he did his best. Go back down to Rockford.
Yeah.
But if they reassign him back to Rockford or even fire him, I wouldn't be surprised either. There's just a lot of work to go to get this team to look respectable.
Yep. Agreed.
And then lastly, we've got the Bears. And the Bears might be our best hope at turning things around.
Oh, but one of the most talented guys they picked up in the offseason just got arrested.
You know what? I'm not even mad. He got arrested for doing donuts
with his kid in the car on a suspended license.
What was the license suspended for?
I don't know, but his kid was in the car.
I'm just going to put this out there is my dad wasn't always the best of dads, but when my dad took me in the car and we did donuts, he was always the cool dad.
He's got a criminal history, though.
I'm not going to be mad at donuts. Now, if he was drunk doing donuts in the car, different story. If he was drag racing, different story. He was doing donuts. I'm not even going to be mad at that. I'm just not going to be. You're not going to get me to be mad at somebody doing donuts in the car. And now driving on the suspended license, depending on what the suspended license was. Like what, like if he's got a history of drunk driving, all right, let's deal with that. But I'm just not going to be mad at the doing donuts in the car. Was it a smart
idea? On a public road?
there's way worse things that could be done. I mean, is he punching women in an elevator? No. Is he disposing of a weapon used in a stabbing? No. Is he is a person of interest in a murder? No. I put that in the same category as taking a picture of yourself smoking weed in a gas mask.
It was over 200 miles an hour with a kid in the car.
Wait, was he driving 200 miles an hour or was he doing donuts?
The Hellcat was over 70 HP and has a top speed of around 100 miles an hour. Okay, so it has a top speed. Sorry, I misread that. Here's what this report says. Byron Pringle was arrested Saturday in Florida after state troopers say they busted him doing donuts in his car on a suspended license on a public road with a child in the car. And cops say Pringle was uncooperative, becoming verbally confrontational with them during the stop. 28-year-old Pringle, an NFL vet out of Kansas State, was pulled over by Florida Highway Patrol in his orange 2016 Dodge Challenger SRT Hellcat around 6 p.m. in Paso County, Florida, after an FHP officer says he witnessed the car burning rubber doing donuts on a public road, according to an incident report. When police ran Pringle's license, they say it came back suspended, taken into custody, suspended license, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's all it has from that incident. So that's the official TMZ report. So
yeah, I'm still not going to be mad at that. I feel like that's just very Florida. I feel like that is, I mean, if you just type in a Florida man, like everything is going to be way more crazy than that, and doing some donuts. Was it a good choice? Probably not. Like, you got a high profile job, maybe take it easy, or go on a private driving course or in your property. But I'm not going to be bad at some donuts. I'm not going to be mad at that. Now, if he plays bad, I'll be mad at that. There's way worse things that players have done to put themselves in a bad situation, and trying to impress your kid. Now, if his kid is like an infant or something, all right, maybe that's bad. But if the kid is like 8, 9, like you're trying to impress your kid.
Pringle's 28 years old. How old could that kid be?
That kid could be 12. I don't know. Let's see how old is.
What bothers me is the kid was in the car. That's what bothers me. If he was doing it alone, I probably wouldn't care. It's stupid regardless, but if he was just being reckless by himself, I really wouldn't bat much of an eye. It's just the kid being in the car is what bothered me. I don't know how old he is, but
let's see.
Because the official report, I'd have to go back and look at the official report here. I don't know if it reported an age of the kid or not. Let's see. License of the child doesn't say the age. Yeah. Male child, no age listed. So, yeah, I don't know how old the kid was.
Google is not. It's not. It's not answering my question of how old this kid is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, if the kid is like 6 or 7, you're trying to impress your kid to doing some donuts. I know my dad did. I'm sure his dad did it for him too. And, I'm not going to be mad at it. It's if this becomes like the gateway crime where, he's, I mean, like, you look at, what's his name that drove his Lamborghini drunk and smashed it and then ran.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, if it was drunk driving, that would be much more serious. If he was abusing his kid or his wife, that's obviously much more serious. There are definitely much worse things that he could have done than what he did. It's just, you look at it and you just shake your head like, dude, why are you being dumb like that? Like, just, what are you doing?
I agree. Is you got to be smarter, especially when you're a high profile career, but it is not the worst thing. And if you're in Florida, I just figure that's par for the course. I think that's like Florida life.
Florida man generator exists.
But honestly, going into this season, I understand the approach that Ryan Poles is taking. Is we are going to clear the books. We are going to clear dead weight. We are adding guys on low money deals, and we're going to rebuild through the draft. And I've seen a lot of people say things like, well, why they haven't done anything, and they've added a lot of guys. They've added a lot of guys through free agency. And I've seen other people say, Ryan Poles keeps saying that he wants to build through the draft, but he keeps signing free agents. Well, it is, you start off with 7 draft picks. And honestly, maybe if you're lucky, 4 hit. You need to supplement with free agency, whether that's free agency of signing your own players or signing from other teams and succeeding through the draft. It's what he's trying to say is that you can't just build your team through high price free agents, because then you wind up getting in salary cap trouble. And, I saw somebody praising what the Eagles are doing, where they started adding void years at the end of all of their big contracts, not just quarterback, so they can keep kicking the financial burden down the road, because they're expecting the cap to go up every year. And I mean, eventually that comes to a head, because you eventually run out of cap room. I mean, I guess in perpetuity, the cap, you expect it to go up, but what if it doesn't one year and it goes down? Then you're screwed. You're just keep borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. And I don't think that's the smartest way about doing things. I like the approach, the patient, steady approach that Ryan Poles is trying to do. And we are recording the show. This will be the last episode prior to the draft.
Yep. Big week next week, folks. The draft show.
Yep. The draft starts Thursday. And by the time we record next week, the Bears draft will be done, and they will have probably signed a whole bunch of undrafted rookie free agents, which I'm actually excited about. More and more over the years, because when I was younger, the draft was actually a lot more rounds. They've sort of shrunk it to 7 rounds. And there are players that are not drafted or drafted late that can be contributors on your team. And sometimes they don't always get a fair shake, undrafted rookies. And there's a reason that they don't get drafted, whether that's red flags, injury-wise, red flags, character-wise, playing at small schools, whatever the case may be. There's a reason usually, but doesn't mean that they can't be productive at the next level. And there's always stories of somebody that, was undrafted that, latches on and plays well enough. And we have a general manager who is an undrafted rookie, and he likes the fight that those guys have, because they're essentially, they're not, draft pick has a couple of years to prove their worth because you have a financial investment in them. Undrafted rookies got to come out of the gate swinging, because if they don't, they're not going to make it in this league. Like, this is their one shot. Maybe they get 2 shots, but that's it. And so I think you're going to see a lot of undrafted rookies brought in and be given a fair shake to make the squad. And I think that's good. I think they're really going to foster competition, because there's not a lot of guys that are going to be handed jobs on this team. I mean, Jalen Johnson's going to be handed a position. Roquan Smith handed a position. Assuming he doesn't get traded, Robert Quinn will be handed a position. Justin Fields handed a position. Darnell Mooney handed a position. David Montgomery handed a position. And, that's the handful of guys. Everybody else is really going to be competing.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is by the time we talk next, with all these signings that have happened with the draft and, the other guys that they should be bringing in, we're finally going to get a better view of what the team could look like next year. And I think that we've been waiting for that for a while, for that moment to come, to finally see what this team could be, because we spent this offseason kind of tearing it down and then bringing in guys we don't necessarily know a ton about.
And we also started getting a glimpse, because the Bears do have a new head coach. They were allowed to have like organized team activities a few weeks earlier than teams that have a continuing coach. And the Bears had organized team activities, and starting offensive line was Tevin Jenkins at right tackle, Larry Borum at left tackle, Lucas Patrick at center, Cody Whitehair at guard, Sam Mustipher was the other starting guard.
Mm-hmm.
Not Dakota Dozier or Dieter Iselin or Willie Wright. It was Sam Mustipher. And I think that's a bad sign if he ends up getting the starting job at the guard, because he physically wasn't big or strong enough to match up at center. So I don't see how guard works, but that's where the starters went. And honestly, I said last year, I said, I think Tevin Jenkins is probably a right tackle, and I think Larry Borum is a left tackle. And they said that they're going to give different opportunities to people and kind of see where people play out the best. But it's not surprising that they put those two, flip-flop them to start off. I think you're going to get better results that way.
Yeah, no, you're right.
But I went through and I did my final mock draft, and I filled in a few free agents that I thought they would sign to, post draft to kind of fill out the roster. And it's funny is I went through and I was like, I think they're going to sign a veteran guy to compete for that swing tackle, or one of the tackle positions probably will be a swing tackle. And I actually had Julian Davenport slotted in there to be the guy they signed. And that's who they actually did sign. So I was like, I felt good about myself. I was like, go Sean. You identified what the issue was and who the guy was. All right. Me and Ryan Pohl, same wavelength. But my mock draft goes Number 39, I had them picking Treylon Burks out of the wide receiver out of Arkansas. And all the way up to this point, I assumed George Pickett would be the best wide receiver available when they pick. But physically, Pickett is so incredibly good. He has the potential to be far and away the best wide receiver out of this draft someday. But he's got some character red flags and injury red flags. And I thought he would drop and be a there for the Bears. But I'm starting to think that teams are willing to gamble on him earlier, which means I still think there's only going to be 6 wide receivers taken in the first round. So I think Treylon Burks does fall a bit and winds up where the Bears are. So I think that's a good pickup. At 48, I have them taking Jaquan Brisker, strong safety out of Penn State. 71, Dylan Parham, guard out of Memphis. 148, Kobe Bryant, cornerback out of Cincinnati.
Wait. Is it spelled the same way?
No, it's spelled like Kobe White.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Coby, not Kobe.
We got Kobe White in Chicago, my friends.
My friends. At 150, I have Ioma Uwazaki. He's an edge rusher from Iowa State. And then 186, I have Tyquan Thornton, wide receiver out of Baylor. And then I think that they sign a couple of defenders. I think they signed Kevin King, the cornerback that from the Packers, and Anthony Barr, the linebacker from the Vikings. I think they signed him to be their Sam linebacker.
Interesting.
He's like 30 now, and I don't think he has a ton of miles left, but he knows the division. That's the spot that he has played. He's played at a very high level in the past.
Could be good veteran presence.
And he's not going to be expensive. You can get him on a 1-year deal. And he definitely can play that position. Because I didn't see them picking up anybody, because you got to have a guy that can play that position. That's going to be the odds-on favorite to win that spot. So then I have my cornerbacks. You'll have Jalen Johnson, Kobe Bryant, Kendall Vildor, Kevin King, Tavon Young, Thomas Graham, Lamar Jackson, Duke Shelley, Michael Joseph, Bo Pete Keys, and Greg Stroman Jr., who they just signed in free agency. Safeties, you'll have Eddie Jackson, Jaquan Brisker, DeAndre Houston Carson, and Dane Cruikshank. Linebackers, then you probably, if they do this, their starters would be Roquan Smith, Nicholas Morrow, and Anthony Barr, with the backups being Caleb Johnson, Joe Thomas, Matthew Adams, Ladarius Mack, and Noah Dawkins. Your edge rushers would be Travis Gibson, Robert Quinn, Al-Qadim Muhammad, Charles Snowden, Sam Kamara, Jeremiah Atachu, and Ioma Uwazaki. Defensive tackles, Karis Tonga, Justin Jones, Angelo Blackson, Mario Edwards Jr., Laquelle London, and Ezio Ulafai, who they signed in free agency. And then offense, wide receivers, Darnell Mooney, Treylon Burks, Pyron Pringle, Equanimous St. Brown, Daz Newsome, Tyquan Thornton, Nisimba Webster, Isaiah Coulter, and David Moore, who they just signed. Tight ends, Cole Kmet, Jesper Horsted, Ryan Griffin, and I forgot the other guy that they just signed to a 1-year deal, O'Shaughnessy. Tackle, Tevin Jenkins, Larry Borum, Julian Davenport, Latavia Simmons, Tyrone Wheatley. Guards, Cody Whitehair, Dylan Parham, Dakota Dozier, Dieter Eiselin, Willie Wright, and center Lucas Patrick, Sam Mustapher. And quarterbacks, Justin Fields, Trevor Siemian. I think Nick Foles is traded next weekend. Ryan Willis. Kari Blossengame, your fullback, and David Montgomery, Khalil Herbert, and Darrellton Evans as your running back. And I expect them to bring in a couple of undrafted rookie running backs to compete for that third running back spot, because I think Herbert and Montgomery have a lock, barring injuries. Darrellton Evans is going to have to earn that spot, and I think they will have some competition there with younger guys. And Patrick Scales and Cairo Santos are locks. Ryan Winslow, he is going to absolutely have competition there at punter, but probably from undrafted rookies or, you know, guys that are on the streets. They're not going to go out and sign a hefty price free agent. They're just going to go with a cheap guy. So that's where I have the Bears. My guess of what's going to happen. I would be actually pretty happy with that draft because Parham probably wins out that guard spot. Brisker probably wins out the strong safety spot. Treylon Burks will be one of your top 3 receivers off the bat, even if he struggles, as a rookie a little bit. He'll be your third in your top 3 as best receivers. And then Kobe Bryant he'll probably be a guy that you work in occasionally in dime packages maybe, or injuries, but he's going to take a little bit to get used. And then the other guys are going to be, they're going to take a little bit of time, but I think you right off the bat, you get 3 starters from this draft. If this is how it plays out.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I think that a lot of Bears fans are going to be on edge because, we all know what we want. We want a wide receiver, at least one good wide receiver. We want linemen. We want people in the secondary. So, and you don't have a first round pick. So, you got 2 second rounders. So that'll be one of the days that I think Bears fans are following the most. It's the second round. You're going to see guys fall. You're going to have 2 picks. It's just going to be interesting to see what happens. And not only with the Bears, but with the teams around them. What are the Packers going to do in the first round? What is a team like the Chiefs going to do? It's going to be an interesting draft, even though there's not a lot of generational talent in terms of the quarterback. This isn't a hyped up NFL draft like it was last year with all the quarterback talent, but it's a draft that a lot of teams are going to be looking to shore up spots that they just don't have. It's not going to be about getting that big superstar. It's going to be about filling in the right pieces in the right places. So we'll see what happens.
I mean, the good thing is, the position where the Bears are thinnest, the draft is, has fairly deep at. I mean,
yes.
wide receiver, there's a ton.
Yes, there is.
There's a lot of good guards in this draft. It's not the tackle situation, not so good, but I think the Bears are okay at tackle.
You can piece together tackles fine as long as they're not bad.
I mean, Tevin Jenkins and Larry Borum, I think, are going to be pretty solid combo at tackle. I saw enough out of Larry Borum last year where I liked what I saw, and Tevin Jenkins, coming out of college, there was talks he would be a first rounder, and he struggled a little bit at first, but he'd coming off an injury, but by the end he looked pretty good. So I expect the tackle position to be fine. It's guard that we need, and there's a solid number of guards. There's actually a solid number of centers too. There's a decent number of corners. A lot of them are slot type guys, but there's actually a decent number of corners. There's a decent number of safeties. So the Bears lucked out in the way that this draft is kind of aligning, where you can sort of shake this out any way you want and still get a guy that's pretty good at any of your positions of need. I still think that Ryan Poles is desperately going to be rooting for teams trading back into the first round at the end to get a quarterback. Because if you wind up with 4 quarterbacks in the first round, or before the Bears pick at 39, if you have 4 quarterbacks, the Bears are got to be elated, because that's really just pushing four good players down to them, and that otherwise wouldn't be there.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I don't think there's very much good quarter. I mean, am I going to shit on every quarterback in here? No, because obviously 1 or 2 are probably going to be just statistically, 1 or 2 of them are probably going to be okay, or good, but there's no locks in here. And so, but teams are so quarterback desperate that I just feel that they're gonna reach on quarterbacks, and that's what I hope, because guys will get pushed down the board, and that's just good for the Bears, because the more they don't need a quarterback, so the more quarterbacks that are taken, just leaves that many more options for the Bears.
Yep, exactly.
So yeah, exciting times, and this week is going to go by pretty quick.
I hope so.
I hope so too. That was me more. That was me trying to will it into existence.
Yeah. Please, will. And if it doesn't, I blame you.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Nope. I think I've said my piece.
I think that's going to do it for this episode of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. I want to thank everybody so much for listening. Please hit subscribe however you listen to podcasts, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, Spotify, etc. Share this podcast with your friends. That's how we grow the show. Follow us on social media at Swerski Sports, Facebook.com/Swerski Sports, SwerskiSports.com, at ShyFanPat2 for Alex on Twitter, which is now owned by Elon Musk. So we'll see how that goes. And AlexanderJPatCreative.com for all the cool stuff that Alex does, because he's a very talented guy, not just sports knowledgeable. And again, thank you guys so much for listening. And until next time, bear down.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win!
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her. You can have her. She's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like
Remember, New Yorkers, smoking crack is not legal on planes. Bears 31 to -7.
the Bears. Oh, when the Bears go bearing down, I wanna